Good morning, y'all. This is Mike from Kingdom Life. Today, we're going to be talking about singleness. Okay, purpose of singleness, priority of singleness. Okay, um, we all been taught by people on how to not be single. Our culture has raised us on, you know, how to always need people and to know people. Um, That's why I believe we have not been equipped for handling relationships of any kind, because we always came up in a culture of always contributing towards people, trying to know people. We have to get to know people, have to do this for people, and we don't really focus on ourselves, which is a singleness. Um, the most important relationship is being single. The most important relationship is being single. Our culture doesn't teach that. We grow up barely or hearing anything about loving ourselves, right? Most times when we hear that, we are pretty much in our older age, right? After going through something. And then you are hit with that revelation from somewhere about loving yourself, right? You say, I got to get back to loving myself. But we're not being taught that from, adolescent as children growing up. Um, so it affects a part of us of not being whole as a single. Okay, if you don't have the knowledge of this, then you will lack love for yourself and love for the other person, or who you meet. Singleness is knowing the value of yourself, knowing your worth, understanding yourself, appreciating yourself, so much that you want to share yourself with somebody. Okay, that's the part of being fulfilled in your singleness. Okay, see, people think they need to get married to be fulfilled, and I once thought that as well, because I wasn't taught this. You grow up seeing, whether your parents married and so forth, and society in the world makes you feel like if you don't get married, you're a failure to God and to how it's supposed to be in tradition. And that is the wrong way of thinking, okay? Because that's the pressure part of our culture. If you're 35, 30 to 35, and you're not married, it make you feel like you're weird, like you're a weird individual, male or female. You don't need to be married to fulfill God's will. You don't need to be married to fulfill God's will. There's nothing in the Bible that states that. Okay? Let no one suggest to you, unless you're married, you can't fulfill God's will or his purpose. Marriage was only intended for earth, okay? In heaven, there is no marriages. So, marriage is just an earth thing, okay? Marriage is a temporary agreement between two people under a holy covenant. Because God created marriage, okay? That's what it is. Temporary agreement between two people under a holy covenant. It is not a requirement for God's will, okay? You gotta think about this. Don't y'all know some people who actually was doing good in life, right? Maybe she had her own house, had her own car, had a good job, working, doing this and that. And then she married this guy who's not holding himself, and she was holding herself. And what happened? End up, losing the job some kind of way because of him. You know what I'm saying? Like it becomes a cancer. He became a cancer to her. Or it's vice versa. Guy's doing good, meet this woman, and his whole life just went a whole 360. You see what I'm saying? That's the part of not being whole as a single. You're not in your singleness the way it's supposed to be before you get into a relationship with somebody. Okay? And I went through this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Everything I'm talking about, I've been through this. Myself, I've been through a divorce. So I know what it's like. I know what I'm talking from, and I know what the word states. Okay? So this is what this is about today. Just to help each other get through, or the ones who are not getting married yet, who haven't got married yet before, or thinking about it, this is a good message for single people as well, and married, and divorced. Um, okay, so it is better to be unmarried and happy. Okay, there are some people who are married who wish they were single because they are depressed. Um, Nothing is more lonely than being in a marriage that's not working. And I know about that. Nothing is more lonely than being in a marriage that's not working. Okay. Both of y'all in the same bed or backs to back to each other. Yeah, that's an issue. See what I'm saying? There's no wholeness. There's some one of y'all or both of y'all are lacking something. You see what I'm saying? So please, if you're unmarried, don't rush into this stuff. Don't rush into the marriage stuff. You know what I'm saying? Really focus on yourself, right? Focus on the value of you and learn the best of you, your qualities, and make yourself become higher in yourself, right? Before putting yourself out there for someone else. Okay? Um, some people they think divorce is a curse from God. Okay? It's a curse before God. But I want to let you know that He forgives people, okay? Who come before Him with divorce or unfaithfulness. He has forgiven a lot of people who, committed adultery, who committed fornication, and who also have a divorce. So it's not all is lost because you had a divorce, okay? Don't think that God hates you. God hates divorce, not the divorcee, okay? Um, so after divorce, I would tell people from experience, don't go running back into a relationship. Take time with yourself, right? Get back to knowing your value, your worth in yourself. Because, a lot of people run to another relationship and then you bring that same energy, that same vibe that your previous relationship went bad off on, you bring it into somebody else's life. And you hoping that they're going to be able to fulfill what you didn't have in your other relationship. But you got to understand, even if they're whole and you're half whole, you're going to mess them up. And your relationship is also going to become messed up because of you not being complete in your singleness as a whole person. So be mindful of that. Work on yourself. Go back loving yourself the way you're supposed to. Understanding your value, right? Bringing your worth up in yourself again. The ultimate trauma in life is divorce. In the book of Malachi, chapter 2, verse 16, I read, it says, God says, I hate divorce, says the Lord, the God of Israel, and covering one's garment with violence, says the Lord. So, God is saying himself, I hate divorce, okay? And the covering one's garment with violence. So what he's doing is he's tying divorce with violence. And you'll say, why? Because divorce is a violent act. You got to understand that when you are married or in a relationship, you don't have to be married, or in a boyfriend, girlfriend relationship, fiance, or whatever it is, when you bind with another person, right, the deeper the conversation gets, the deeper the bond becomes. So you have to be mindful of the questions you ask people, because certain relationships need to be kept at a thin level, especially when you marry. Like when you marry, you gotta be careful what you say to the opposite sex. You see what I'm saying? Because you can start creating a bond that maybe in your mind that you weren't trying to create, but what the questions you asking this other person and them is creating a bond to you because you asking some deep things, some personal things. So if you're not married, be careful what you say to someone you're not interested in, because you're asking deep questions and conversations. It gives them mixed signals that you are into them, and maybe you're really not. So marriage is not just bonding mentally, emotionally, okay? It's also a physical bond, which is a sexual bond, because that's the bond of saying, I gave you myself, I gave you my body, okay? And that's the deepest bond you can have with another human. Um, Divorce is what? Breaking all of those bonds off. And it's not simple. It's not simple. Breaking all those bonds off. Um, Divorce is not just breaking a bond either. It's also the tearing of bonds. And that is what's called a broken heart. See, a broken heart is the tearing of bonds between two people. See what I'm saying? Like when you have a divorce, it's a tearing. You see what I'm saying? So a broken heart is open wounds, bleeding bonds, rip, from emotions, from the spirit. You see what I'm saying? That's why relationships become dangerous, because that's a level that you're not ready for. You see what I'm saying? That's why God hates divorce, because it's the ripping of two people bonds. Um, so before you get into marriage, God says, think about it. Um, can I handle the possibility of our bonds ripping? Or should I just be happy until you find the right person that you never have to get a divorce from? I believe that would be the best option, is just to be patient, work on yourself, be happy in yourself, be complete in yourself, right? And then you'll find another person who's like you, who's whole, right? Happy in themselves, right? And then you go towards that. You see what I'm saying? Like, we have to really sit back and take our time with this instead of just rushing into marriage like it's some kind of trend. Because that's what's happening now in the world. And there's so many divorces happening, like, 6 months, a year later, right? Um, so God hates it because there is no cure for the broken heart. That's why you have people that start to go towards drugs and alcohol after divorce, right? They trying to, drink away their sorrow, and it never leaves them. After they sober up, you right back feeling that same brokenheartedness. No medication can heal it, right? No psychiatrist can heal it. The Bible says the only thing that can heal the broken heart is an impersonal encounter with Jesus himself, with God himself. The only thing that can cure the broken heart is a personal encounter with God himself. Okay? Um, that's why God hates divorce, because he hates divorce, but he don't hate the divorcee. Because he knows it's nothing else that can heal it but him. And so he hates that for us who goes through that emotional feeling, that spiritual feeling. You see what I'm saying? Because he loves us so much. And that's why he put all this already in the word, in the Bible. But see, we never be taught these kind of issues and topics about singleness and about marriage. So it's so important, man. This stuff is so important. If I would have heard a lot of this before I ever got married my first time, it would have had me reevaluate myself. You see what I'm saying? Like, man, am I really ready to do this? Instead of just going off on love feeling, right? Because it's more than just love. Um, so don't rush into marriage. Settle into your singleness. Um, like I said, and another thing, divorce is also worse than death. Okay, it's just like a physical death, but divorce is worse than death. Is because why? Once you have a divorce, right? You done broke the ties and move out or whatever the case may be, right? But you end up going to the supermarket, or you go to the church, or you go to your children. If you have children together, you go to the game. Guess who you see? You see your ex. And guess what happens? That the resurrection of those feelings, those emotions comes back. So divorce is worse than death because it keep resurrecting. See? It keep resurrecting. That's why divorce is worse than death. Okay. Um, Remember in the Bible, uh, in Matthew 19, when the Pharisees were the people, they asked Jesus, uh, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any or every reason? Now, Jesus, he answered them, have you read? In the beginning, God created male and female. See, he didn't answer directly what he's saying. He pretty much ignored the question and he went back to the recipe. And the recipe is what? The recipe is what he said is the beginning male and female. So if you want to know how you're supposed to be as a single person, as far as being whole, how you're supposed to be, he said, and it's not divorce, is not the issue. He said it's the individuals that's the issue. And he said, God created male and female in the beginning. In the beginning, it wasn't no issue. That's what the recipe is. So for us to know what we're supposed to be in a singleness as male and female, you got to look at the first at the beginning, male and female, okay, which is Adam and Eve, okay. So divorce is not the problem. Divorce is the symptom, okay. Something went wrong because they used the wrong ingredients in the marriage. That's what happens when you have a divorce. Something goes wrong because the wrong ingredients was used in the marriage. Okay, the ingredients determines the product. So meaning something's not right with the individuals, the singles, the male or the female. So we got to remember, God made male and female first. So you go back to the beginning, male and female, to see how God originally made them. You see, we got to remember that our marriage is only as good as our singleness. Our marriage is only as good as our singleness. Because so marriage isn't the problem. It's the male or the female who is the problem. So it's important for the two to become the best of themselves before you bring yourself to someone. So before you get interested in someone, you need to make sure you're the best version of yourself first, right? Your value, your worth, like I said previously, before you come to someone. Because if you come to someone with cracks in your system, you're gonna mess up the whole situation. And that person could be a whole person. And we know deep down ourselves of whether or not we got cracks in that system. We know. Okay? So a comparison to marriage, right? We're gonna use the omelet. So marriage is like an omelet. Okay? So if one egg is rotten, right? Bad egg. Guess what? When you cook the bad egg with the good egg, what happens? It makes the whole omelet rotten because of that one bad egg that mixed in with the other good egg. Regardless of how good the other egg is, that rotten egg, once you cook that omelet, it mixes in with that good egg and the whole thing is bad. Smells bad. The omelet is done. See, the same thing happens with marriage. See, it doesn't matter. The omelet now becomes stank because of the rotten egg. So if the other person has cracks in their character, it will affect their relationship. So that's what it's mostly saying about don't be unequally yoked up. Okay? God gives commands to also protect our memories. So we have to understand that. God always want to protect us, man. That's how much he loves us. So when he gives commands like do not fornicate, he's taking up your memories, because if you do that without getting married and you just keep going around your life fornicating, right, having sex before marriage, you creating memories because you're not staying with these people. You're not in a married covenant with this person. So now you have memories from middle school, high school, right, that you want to get rid of. You see what I'm saying? That's still in you, still in your psyche. So before thinking of getting married to somebody, y'all, ask yourself, think of the other person and say, are you a gift or a curse to me? These are real questions you're going to have to sit down and think about this other person. You know who you interested in. Are you a gift or you a curse to me? Are you a promotion or a demotion? What is it that you have that will improve my life? Okay? So it's best to stay single until you get it all sorted out. Okay? Um, Singleness is about finding yourself. When people say that I'm tired of being single, then what they really saying is they never been single. Because see, we got that word all mixed up, all mixed and screwed. Never confuse single with being alone. Okay? To be single is the goal of a married person. It's being single, being whole in yourself. Singleness makes the marriage person. Marriage is two whole persons coming together. That's what marriage is. Supposed to be two whole persons coming together. Two complete singles coming together. Okay? So if the one is complete and the other is not, and you get married, that's why the issue starts to come. Because the other one becomes a parasite, a leech. You see what I'm saying? So it's okay to be single, but not to be alone. Okay? You gotta remember. So you look at the beginning male, which was Adam, right? Adam was very single. God made a decision to say it's not good for this man to be alone. See, Adam was complete. Adam was whole. Adam was out there having fun. Adam was naming the animals. Adam wasn't thinking about no mate. See, after God seen that Adam was complete, God said, okay, it's not good for this man to do it alone. And then he pulled out Eve, his helper. So singleness is the foundation of the human family. God began with single people. Focus on singleness before creating relationships. Okay? So I said again, God began with single people. Made one male, and then he created one female. Right? So focus on singleness before committing to relationships. If you don't need to be married, then pretty much you are ready for marriage. That's the best way to tell whether or not you're ready for marriage. If you don't need to be married, then you're ready for marriage. See what I'm saying? Because that's a sign that you're already pretty much whole. You're a whole person. Okay? If you need to be married, then you are dangerous. You're dangerous because you have something that you want something to be fixed by another person that's incomplete in yourself. And that's what a lot of us do. A lot of us have done, including myself. And I'm gonna tell y'all guys, like, the only way that I got through it and got over it is because of God. Having an encounter back with my Father, God himself. It's the only way. Other than that, I was going through the same heartaches because remember what it is. A heart, when your broken heart is what? A tearing of two bonds being ripped apart. Not just broken apart, it's ripped. You see what I'm saying? Because you done went through all of the bonds together and created bonds physically. You done create sexual bonds. You created emotional bonds. See what I'm saying? Psychological bonds. All of that stuff with each other. You see what I'm saying? So it's a ripping. And the only way you're going to be able to get that healed is you got to have a personal encounter with God. So if you are going through that right now and you're wondering, how do I get over it? You need to have a personal encounter with God, your Father, our Father. Okay? And you stay locked into that. Stay locked into him. Because he's the only way you're going to get through this situation. He's the only way it's going to get rebuilt. Where now for me, I can talk about that relationship and not feel anything at all. I don't feel nothing. Don't feel no bad emotions when I talk about it. Don't have no bad memories at all. I actually pray for her that she has recovered. You see what I'm saying? Because it affects both individuals when you have a divorce. It really does. So if you not married and you're hearing this, don't rush, right? Become the best version of yourself into your singleness. Enjoy being single, right? Understanding your value, understand what your worth is, being a whole in yourself. So that way, when you are out there and you may just run across another individual, right, and something just gonna hit you that, man, okay, this person seems whole in themselves, right? You know, they enjoying themselves too. And see, when y'all two get together, it's not gonna be somebody trying to complete each other, cause y'all already whole. So it's gonna become an overflow because both of y'all being whole. If y'all both are whole, when you meet each other and want to become a relationship as a marriage, then it becomes overflow. And see, overflow is a great thing. Overflow is not that I need it, it's just some extra. And that's what the other whole person will be doing for you and vice versa. See what I'm saying? But one of y'all come in half full and the other one come in whole, that half full person gonna want to take some of your wholeness into them. And it's gonna be back and forth, passing around, you know what I'm saying? Oh, give me mine's back. Give me back. See what I'm saying? Because that's what the leech is. Sucking, pulling from. And we had to be better with that for ourselves, man. Okay? That's why it's better to be unmarried and happy than to be married and alone. Okay? Because that's a miserable thing. That's a miserable thing. But hope is not lost. Like I said, God hates divorce, but he doesn't hate the divorcee. Okay? So bring this stuff all to him, right? Let him clear this all up into you. That's where your healing is at. Your healing is not finding another person who you think gonna complete that void that you went through in another relationship. It's not gonna happen. You're gonna you bringing toxic, you're bringing cancerous stains into your next relationship. And now you're gonna affect this other person. And it just keep happening until you stop as an individual and say, man, you know what? Let me work on me. That's what I did. Before I got married to my wife now, I was so happy in being single. Why? Because at that point in time, I was coming back to my father. I had an encounter with God. I was living how I'm supposed to be living in heaven eyes as how a son's supposed to be. See what I'm saying? Or how a daughter's supposed to be. That's what you had to come back to. You had to understand that God is the nucleus of all this. Why? Because he created us. He's the manufacturer. He has the manual. The Bible is the manual. And God is the manufacturer. So everything's in the beginning mill. So I'm trying to tell y'all, I went through this firsthand. And so I was enjoying my singleness, right? Loving God, living for the Lord, and just doing what I do. And then all of a sudden, he parade. He didn't force me into saying this is gonna be your wife. He parade prospects in front of you. And when I see my wife now, I seen her. And guess what her story was? The same exact story as mine. She was jumping from one relationship to relationship in the past. And she said she got to a point as well, right? And said that she had to become just being happy and just being by herself, right? Not feeling the spirit of being alone and loneliness. See, you have to bring that stuff before God and let him pull that stuff out of your spirit, man. Let him cleanse you, okay? But it first starts with having the information, the knowledge. Because remember, knowledge means information. And so that's what this is right here. This is the information. Okay, and once you get the information, you need to have understanding. That's the next step, which is understanding means the comprehension of the information. And once you understand the information, okay, now you apply it to yourself. And once you apply it to yourself, now it becomes wisdom, okay? Wisdom means application or to apply. And see, and then once you apply it, you know, you live in it now. And then you be testimonies to other people, man, who going through similar situations, right? Or they're about to go into the situation, and you just giving them word of advice. That's what this whole thing supposed to be about. We're supposed to be helping each other, spreading this word. This ain't for a certain group of people to hear only. This is for the world to hear. That's why we have the issues that we already have had or going through them right now, because we haven't heard this information. We haven't known none of this information. You see what I'm saying? So so that's what this is all about, y'all. And when we marry each other, man, as whole people, nobody was pulling from each other. You see what I'm saying? We came in it whole already by ourselves. So it just became overflow. And it was a beautiful thing, y'all. It's a beautiful thing when you do it the way God intended it for it to be. So that's all I have to say for today. And like I said, the topic today was about singleness, the purpose and the priority of singleness. So hopefully, you know what I'm saying, y'all guys got something from it. I know I still do. And y'all be encouraged. And if you want to leave a comment down there, you know, and I answer back. And until next time, you know, y'all guys take care, be safe, and I'll see y'all guys soon. Thanks.